that pointed beak in the front of their mouth, little barbels underneath their chin, and a big head and a very long tail that has spikes on it. So definitely they don't look like the turtles that you're used to seeing around here.
But this snapping turtle was found here on Vancouver Island. Port Alberni, in fact, and Julie McKay at North Island Wildlife Recovery Centre says they were all shocked when they got the call.
It's never happened here before, and as far as we're aware, it's not happened on the island before. So when we got the first call, it was extremely interesting, and we didn't believe it until we saw it. It came from Port Alberni at an auto body dealership crawling across the parking lot. Probably a couple of years old. They're relatively slow-growing species.
And in less than a week, they received another call about a second snapping turtle found.
It was down at Machosen and temporarily at Wild Ark in Victoria. She's a very large turtle, so she's about over a foot across the diameter of her shell. So she could be very old. Don't know exactly, but she could be well over 10, 12 years old. By the time we got the third call, I'm starting to wonder if it's some sort of joke. And the third one is a considerably smaller one that also came from Port Alberni, but a completely different area near one of the dike systems. So probably only a year or two old. So we're hoping that that doesn't mean that there are more little ones out there and that some did hatch. Hoping that that's not the case.
Snapping turtles can live 30 to 40 years in the wild, and they're not native to this area, so they're considered an invasive species.
They don't have any natural predators on the island here. The waters that they do live in the southern states and things, I mean, they live with crocodiles and alligators and that types of thing, and nothing here would compete with them or keep their population under control if there was a population to establish here and breed. They're more aggressive than the native turtles and amphibian life and that type of thing, so they could be predators and eat what's naturally here or just outcompete what's naturally here for their diet. So the other problem is people here aren't used to having to think about snapping turtles in their waterways or coming across them near a waterway, so it's sort of a dangerous thing as well. If some child stumbles across one, wants to pet the turtle, these guys do bite, and they bite very, very hard. Turtles in general aren't a fast animal, but when they're going after prey, their head shoots out extremely quickly with no sort of notice that it's going to. And the snappers can actually reach their neck out all the way along the side of their body to reach their back legs. They eat small birds, fish, frogs, other little turtles, vegetation, just about anything they can get their mouths on.
These turtles seem to prefer raw beef. The staff at NYRA has been learning lots as it's their first time caring for snapping turtles, but their home here is temporary.
Generally, we say we don't rehab reptiles or amphibians because we're just not set up for it, but this was a completely unique situation where, because they're considered an invasive species, they would be euthanized if there's no place to care for them. So we're sort of temporarily housing them as best that we can, trying to find a zoo or an aquarium or an animal refuge or something that may like them as a permanent resident and a display animal.
There's still questions as to how these turtles ended up on Vancouver Island. They're being housed in the rehabilitation portion of the North Island Wildlife Recovery Centre and are not open for viewing by the public. In Arrington, I'm Kelly Robinson.